And that's when I lost it all. Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of Building an Online Business from Scratch. I'm Jason Whaling, and in this series, I'm walking through every step of building an online consulting practice from scratch, live in real time. So you're watching me. I record these videos essentially right after I complete a step. So you'll watch me go from concept and idea all the way to launch and hopefully making some sales. So in today's episode, I wanted to talk about the attractive character or your, business persona. Most of the time I like to dive into, my OneNote file and show you some stuff, but this time I just kind of wanted to talk with you just one-on-one here, no screen capture, no nothing, and just talk about the importance of being yourself. And this is a really big thing that I struggled with my first few years, and I still struggle with. I mean, these videos are just as much as me pulling myself out of my shell as it is providing value for you guys. Obviously, if the videos don't provide value, I better fix them. But at the same time, it's just I'm just sitting here in front of my little laptop. I've got the little Blue Yeti microphone here, and I got the two lights, so it's not all dark because I have to record these after work hours at night. And it's just one of those things where this entire series up until this point, it hasn't gotten a lot of views. Hopefully there's more views by the time you're watching this. But it's one of those things where being authentic in who you are as you either build authority or you build your business is really the absolute best way to go. Particularly because nobody else does it. There's just so many fakers out there. This isn't going to be a rant or video. Like, I'm not going to point out individuals that I think are fake or, individuals that are real. That's not my place to say. But what I do know is there's a tremendous amount of us who are held back by this belief that we have to have achieved some really large, great goal in order to start our business or bring the value that we have inside us to others. And that kind of ties into this attractive character or persona idea. And that's simply when you're going to start your, coaching or consulting practice, or you're going to go, start your information product business, that you make a conscious decision on who you're going to be. If you have to create essentially a fake image, if you have to create a pen name because you're embarrassed of what you're doing, or you have to create a fake profile that you come home and you put on that hat of, okay, I'm now James Jones, who is some crazy guy who picks up women all the time, when that's not really who you are. That's a recipe for disaster, especially because if you do reach success, eventually you're gonna have to wear that hat 24/7. And I've read stories of other people. I've never gotten to that level of success to have that issue. But I've read stories of other people who had to walk away from multi-million-dollar, online businesses because they looked in the mirror at who they pretended to be, and it was ugly. So that goes into a bit of an extreme example. So I'll bring it back to practicality. And the practicality is that when you're starting your business, you have to decide, number one, you're going to decide what you're going to share and what you're not going to share. Some people, part of their product or service is being political. If you don't want to be, then on the outset decide that you're not going to be political. If you have a particular charity cause that you're really interested in, then maybe that becomes a part of what you do and what you talk about as a coach, consultant, or internet entrepreneur. If you don't want to touch that at all, then don't talk about it. But I think the number one thing I could say is decide what you're going to share publicly and what you're going to keep private. And just saying, oh well, I'm an open book, I can share anything, like that's not really enough, because there's definitely some things you probably don't want to share, and I'll leave that up to you to decide. So that's number one. And then number two is deciding what your story or narrative is. And when I say deciding, I mean figuring out how to communicate it, not making it up. So if you're like myself, I'm going to be building a business consulting practice. I'm not going to have a story of how I was homeless and then went to, now live in some $1 million mansion, because that's not represents at all who I am or my current narrative up until this point. It would definitely help sell things, but it's not who I am. And so a great way to figure out what your narrative, what your story is going to be, is essentially breaking it down into 3 parts. So part number 1 is what your life looked like before you achieved your particular result, or before you became who you are now. So this is assuming that you have a skill or passion that you're sharing. So you've gone through some sort of struggle, and you want to look at that struggle, and you want to look at part 1 of the struggle. I'll use my other hand because I'm counting here. So part 1 of that struggle is deciding what did my life look like before I got that solution, and what was I trying? And then number 2 was where was the tipping point? Where was it where you just hit a wall and you felt like you were going to give up? Like there's some sort of crash and burn. Most people have multiple. You can choose one. So there's that kind of crash and burn moment. And then there's that moment where you decided to keep trucking on when most people failed. So that's number 3. So we have number 1, what did life look like? What were you trying to do to achieve the result, like pursuing your passion or gaining this skill that you had because you were overcoming a problem that you had? And then number 2 is where was that wall that you hit? And then number 3 is where was that decision, or what was that decision that you made? And a great way to frame that when you're explaining it to people is, saying I had 2 decisions to make. I could give up and go do something completely else, or I could give up and just be fat, or I went with option 2, which was, go back to the drawing board, or try this new system, or cut out eating donuts every day. Whatever that decision was, there's always 2 decisions, because there's the decision to take action, which is hopefully what you did, and then there was the decision not to take action, to give up, or the decision to maybe take a more route that's more traveled, but isn't as ethical or doesn't work as well. It's kind of the difference between not racking on anyone who gets liposuction, but it's kind of the difference between someone who's really overweight and said, okay, well, I could either spend my life savings on liposuction, or really go figure out how to properly eat and diet and do it a little more naturally, right? Or getting that the difference between eating more naturally or getting that crazy cord that wraps around your esophagus so you don't eat as much. I don't remember the name of it. There's billboards all over California a couple of years back for it. But so that's 3, and then step 4 is what your life looks like now. And I will leave in the description, I'll have a detailed layout of what this looks like. This is just one of those things that's kind of hard to represent graphically, and I didn't want to take you through the 7 or 8 paragraphs of text I have for my own personal story or my own personal struggle. So I'll leave a link to the webinar where I actually go through that whole story formula, and you can it's in the first 30 minutes of the webinar. So even if you have no interest in staying on the whole webinar, you can just watch the first 30 minutes and you'll get it. The webinars will be pretty regular. So that does it for episode 5. I just wanted to share with you the importance of being yourself and not being scared to be transparent with who you are now and where you were. And I think we could use a lot we could use a lot more authenticity in the world. We can use a lot more people who put themselves out there and are comfortable saying, you know what, I did X, Y, and Z. You know, I'm not a millionaire yet. I don't have, you know, crazy 6-pack abs, or, you know, I'm not, I haven't found the love of my life yet, or whatever. I'm touching all three, the major niches there. But it's okay to say, you know what, I've got a small online business and I want to share with you, you know, my success. Or I've lost 15 pounds in the last 2 weeks. It's quicker than anything I've ever found, so I want to share it with you. Or, you know what, I'm actually going on dates now, and I used to never go on dates, so I want to share that with you. You don't always have to be at what society thinks is the pinnacle of success. You know, you don't have to be the millionaire to show other people how to be successful financially. You don't have to, you know, be 2% body fat to show other people how to lose weight or increase their muscle mass. And you don't have to be some, I was going to say, you don't have to be married to show other people how to be married, but you probably should be married. But I think you get my point. Like, you don't always have to have that grandiose lifestyle to provide value to others. So hopefully, if you're still watching this right now, I've convinced you, shown you a way to lay out your story in a way that effectively communicates your struggle and your triumph. And then, of course, you know, look in the description for the details on that. And then, of course, the big call to action of this video, which is breaking out of that shell and being yourself. I mean, I'm making these videos and I don't pretend to be a zillionaire. You know, I'm just sitting here with my laptop and I'm talking to you. You know, I don't have $5 million sitting in the bank or whatever. But what I do have is experience, and I'm sharing that experience with you, and hopefully you get value out of it. So there you go. I'm starting to beat a dead horse. So be yourself, be authentic, and use the formula in the description to share your story and inspire and lead others. So that does it for episode 5. That's the second time I've said that, right? I kept going. But that does it for episode 5. I hope you found this actionable and informative, and you got a little inspired out of it, inspired to maybe come out of your shell and, you know, start sharing your story. And whether that's, you know, some 10-second Snapchats or it's little YouTube videos like this one, whatever it is, you start on that path to turning your passion or skill into a business and sharing your personal story. So go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and got some value out of it. And then in the comment section, go ahead and just tell me what your big passion or skill is, or what struggle you've overcome in the past that you want to share with other people. I'd love to read it and, you know, get a great conversation going. So go ahead, hit that like button, comment below, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.